Is it me you're looking for? Must have stumbled and lost my way. Got too comfortable sitting down, and the world is still spinning round. Don't know how to do it. Can you help me? Don't know when to say the words. Don't know why you chose me to use me. Don't know how you're still in love with me. You're still in love with me. Is it me you're telling your secrets? Just sit and listen very well. Got complacent in my living, and I missed you again. Don't know how to do it. Can you help me? Don't know when to say the words. Don't know why you chose me to use me. Don't know how you're still in love with me. Still in love with me. Well, it's time not for you, but me. There's a whole world out there that needs to be free. How can I tell them that you love them when I don't know how? Still love me. Still in love with me. Is it me you're looking for? Must have stumbled and lost my way. Don't know how to do it. Can you help me? Don't know when to say the words. Don't know why you chose me to use me. Don't know how you're still in love with me. Don't know how you're still in love with me. Still in love with me. Still in love with me.
All right. Welcome. That was Barry Pilson, Still in Love with Me. Barry's a friend and brother in the Lord. He's got his own YouTube channel. I put the link in the discussion. If you're interested, go over and check him out and say hello. I'm making this video. I'm doing it live, but I'm going to post it over on my Patreon channel. It's just basically a summary of tonight's Bible study. Tonight is Mother's Day, May 10th, 2020. So after this video goes live, I'm going to take it down from YouTube once it processes and just post it over on Patreon. I had the first Bible study in the book of Ruth over there tonight, and we did basically just Ruth chapter 1, and it went well. And I was reading Ruth the other day, and it just hit me like that'd be a great Bible study to break into on Mother's Day. Of course, Naomi was Ruth's mother-in-law, not mother, but they definitely had a mother-daughter relationship. And I really love the book of Ruth. I'm going to read the chapter. It's not too long. I think it's 22 verses or so. I'm going to start in verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons, and the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons, and they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth, and they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them, and the woman was left of her 2 sons and husbands, and of her 2 sons and husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord has visited his people in giving them bread. Wherefore she went forth out of that place where she was, and her 2 daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return unto the land of Judah. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-law, Go, return each to thy mother's house. The Lord has dealt kindly with you, as ye have dealt with the dead, and with me. The Lord grant you that ye may find rest, each of you, in the house of her husband. Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voice and wept. And she said unto her, Surely we will return with thee unto thy people. And Naomi said, Turn again, my daughters. Why will ye go with me? Are there yet any more sons in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Turn again, my daughters, go your way, for I am too old to have an husband. And if I should say, I have hope, if I should have an husband also tonight, and should also bear sons, would ye tarry for them till they were grown? Would ye stay for them from having husbands? Nay, my daughters, it grieveth me much for your sakes, that the hand of the Lord is gone out against me. And they lifted up their voice and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clave unto her. And she said, Behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people, and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. Where thou diest, will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me. When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left, speaking unto her. So they two went until they came to Bethlehem, and it came to pass that when they were come to Bethlehem, that all the city was moved about them, and they said, Is this Naomi? And she said unto them, Call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt bitterly with me. I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me home again, empty. When then call ye me Naomi? Seeking the Lord hath testified against me, and the Almighty hath afflicted me. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned unto the country of Moab. And they came to Bethlehem in the beginning of barley harvest. So, just to give a recap here, This is chapter 1 of Ruth. Ruth is a short book. It's only 4 chapters. It says in the beginning, now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled. This was in the final era of the judges. And, of course, they're in Bethlehem, and what was, the Israelites' promised land, right? And so there was a famine in the land. And so Elimelech, he decides to take his wife and his 2 sons away to go out and to try to find a better place, a place where there's food, and escape the hardship. But quickly he dies pretty early in the story, and then right after his son dies. So, by verse 5, the husband and sons are both dead, and Naomi is left alone. But I want to look at, first of all, they were in the land that God had set aside for the Israelites. And Elimelech chose to leave and to go down to the pagan land of Moab. And I think that's indicative of a lack of faith, right? Because didn't he think God was going to provide for them? Like, it's an example of what we see today a lot of times. Man thinks his way is better than God's way. His solution to any problem is better than God's solution. And we often rush to that. And this is what Elimelech did. There's a famine in the land. Come on, pack up, we're going. Well, many people stayed behind, and we see later on that, they were provided for. So they go down to this pagan land of Moab, and the sons take wives of, Moabitess women. And so clearly that showed a lack of faith on Elimelech's part. And it shows a turning away. It shows a turning away of following God's plan and trusting that God would provide. Even when, the Israelites were originally freed from Egypt and brought through the wilderness, it said they murmured, right? They weren't happy, like, oh man, manna again, all their needs were being provided for them. It was a great miracle, but yet they looked at the negative. They looked at, what did we get ourselves into? We were slaves in Egypt. We had everything taken care of. There was food on the table every night. We had a place to sleep. Yeah, but you were slaves. But they often overlook the blessings, right? And I think that's what happened here. So when they go out and they say, okay, so Naomi decides to return. Is it because it says, let's see, where are we here? Verse 6, then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard that in the country of Moab, how that the Lord had visited his people, giving them bread. So she's basically saying, well, we're going back to Bethlehem. She heard when she was in Moab, oh, everything's good there now. They got food. Well, yeah, God took care of them. Didn't you think he was gonna? But they drifted, so she decides to go back. But now she's got these 2 pagan women with her, and she says, okay, go back to your house, your homes. Well, Orpah does. She goes back. But Ruth makes a commitment to stay with Naomi. And that's important, because it says, let's see, where are we here? It says here in verse 15, and she said, behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back. So Naomi's telling this to Ruth. Your sister-in-law, she left. She went back unto her people and unto her gods, small g. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whitherest thou go, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God, my God, capital G. So we're seeing that Ruth is, she's making a commitment to stay with Naomi, but the greater significance is she's making a commitment to follow the one true God. She's making a commitment to follow God and for her life. And she said, I will lodge where thou lodgest, I will lodge. Thy people shall be my people, and thy God my God. So she's accepting God as her God. And that's the greater significance, I believe, to Ruth making the commitment to stay with Naomi. And so they go back, and when they come back to Bethlehem, the city was moved about them, and they said, is this Naomi? And she said unto them, verse 20, and she said unto them, call me not Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty hath dealt very bitterly with me. So I went out full, and the Lord hath brought me back home again empty. Why then call me Naomi, seeing the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has afflicted me? So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, which returned out of the country of Moab, and they came to Bethlehem, Judah, in the beginning of barley harvest. And so now the story is going to really pick up in chapter 2. But it's interesting to see here. She goes back, and the people in the village say, hey, isn't that Naomi? Aren't you Naomi? They clearly, they remember her. And she says, why call me Naomi? Call me Mara, for the Lord has dealt bitterly with me. Well, so back in Exodus, when the Israelites fled Egypt, they came to the land of Mara, and it was named so because it was bitter water. And they threw follow the story, they threw the branch of the tree. God says, throw this tree branch in the river and it'll be made sweet. And they did, and they drank the water. But the land, it was called Mara because it meant land of bitter water. And I think that's a correlation here, because Naomi is saying, don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, because the Lord hath dealt bitterly with me. And she makes reference to, he sent me out. I left. He didn't send her out, but she followed her husband out. I left full, and I came back empty. So she goes out. When she leaves, she's got, now we know it's at least 10 years, because it says the sons took wives 10 years. They dwelt with their wives 10 years. So they came, met these women, were married 10 years. So they were gone at least 10 years. And so she's looking at that journey as like, man, when I left, I had everything. I had a husband. I had 2 sons. Well, I'm coming back empty, coming back with nothing. She had her daughter-in-law with her, but her sons were dead. Her husband was dead, and it was a tough time. And she's looking at that as like, wow, what did I just go through? But see, God returned her home. And sometimes that happens in our lives. Like, we don't see the blessing in things. We see our view, the negative, what we suffered through, what we went through. But the bigger picture, as we're going to find out as the story goes on, it was a blessing for her to return there, because she meets up with the kinsman redeemer, and that's indicative of who God is in our lives. He's the kinsman redeemer. He's our kinsman redeemer. That was a blessing for Naomi and for Ruth. If they hadn't returned, that would have never happened. And so, see, sometimes God has to strip us of ourselves. He has to strip away the us from us, our individuality, who we are, who we think we are. Because in that stripped state, in that, as Naomi's saying, empty, in that empty state, God can now use you, because he takes away your pride, right? You're reduced to humility, humbleness. And you're at that point where, you allow God to work in your life. And you allow God to use you. And I think that's what's happening here. Although of course Naomi doesn't see it yet, because in our narrow worldview, we look at what's physically immediately upon us. And in this case, Naomi returns home. Her husband's dead, her son's dead. She has nothing. And she says, oh man, I'm empty. But really, God's saying to her, you just hang on, because you haven't seen anything yet. And I'm going to use you and I'm going to restore you. And I think that happens if we allow it to. It can happen in our lives. But we have to allow God to strip us down to nothing first, and then He'll use us. I think that's great. And the book of Ruth is really, really a great book. And next Sunday, we're doing it over on our Patreon channel. We're doing the study, but I'm going to try to come in and do recaps of it. And it's really, I think it's significant for Mother's Day to start it, but the book of Ruth is only 4 chapters, but it's one of my favorite books of the Bible. And so now, starting in chapter 2, it's the time of barley harvest. And here's these 2 women with nobody to take care of them. And we're going to see how the Lord is going to take care of them. And that's really great. So thank you all for coming in and for listening to me and joining me for this. I encourage you all to read the book of Ruth. Hopefully it'll be a blessing to you. Thanks. And again, the music, I'm going to play another song. It's from Barry Pilson. And the link to his channel is in the comments. Go over and check him out. I think you'll enjoy it. He's got a great testimony, and he makes some great music. Praise for the Lord. Thank you. Good night.
Doesn't change the misery I feel right here. How can you sleep? No one's facing me. How can you share this? Look on your face. How can you rest? You know what they're gonna do to me. You know what they're gonna do. drops of sweat look like blood, beginning now, cleansing blood, washes away sins of man. Do you understand? Do you understand? So how can you sleep? You know what's basic things. And how can you stand it? The look on your face. And how can you rest? You know what they're gonna do to me. You know what they're gonna do. What they're gonna do to me. What they're gonna do to me.